Hello everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and on today's video, we're going to be discussing Ancestry's new update to their DNA match relationship projection system. Now I know that's kind of a mouthful to say, but basically what it comes down to is Ancestry has updated the system that predicts the relationship distance between you and some of your matches. Now this isn't affecting all of your DNA matches, this is really going to be affecting your close DNA matches, and as we dive into it you'll see that it's actually really two specific groups of relationship distances they're looking at. So just to cover the basics for people that might not know the in-depths of everything, when you look at your DNA matches, the amount of DNA that you share with these matches is measured in what's known as centimorgans. And using the number of centimorgans that you match each of your DNA matches, we can predict what the relationship distance is between you and that DNA match. But unfortunately, things aren't super straightforward with it because there's a lot of overlap in the amount of DNA shared between different relationship distances. So in the blog post that Ancestry's released about this new update, they have this really cool visual that I'm going to show on screen, and it shows you the different degrees of relationship broken down into what they call M levels. And basically what you can think of that as is relationship distances that all share such a similar amount of DNA that you can basically group them together. So M1 is parent and child, M2 is a full sibling, M3 is where you start to get a much larger grouping. Grandparent, grandchild, half-sibling, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew. And I know something that I've dealt with in a lot of the questions I've taken over the years is I have a DNA match to my uncle, but they're saying it's a half-sibling. Why is that? Well, this is why that is because the prediction using just the centimorgan amount covers a lot of different relationship distances. But it's that exact issue that this update is trying to correct. It's trying to make it so that it can distinguish more succinctly between these various groupings. So when we look back at the chart, we can see now M4, we have first cousin, great-grandparent, great-grandchild, great-aunt, great-uncle, grandnephew, grandniece, half-aunt, half-uncle, half-niece, half-nephew. And then when you look at the chart, you can see there's an M5, an M6, M7, M8, M9, M10. But as you get further out, there's even more overlap between each of these groupings. But this update is specifically for groups M3 and M4. And a big part of why that probably is because the patterns to determine relationships within these groups, M3 and M4, is much easier to do than when you get to the further groups of M5, M6, and so on. And the way that they're doing this is using 4 different methods, which are actually methods that we use in genetic genealogy all the time to figure out these relationship predictions. For anyone that's been doing genetic genealogy for a while, you've probably used the shared centimorgan project and done a lot of the things that we're about to talk about to figure out how some of these DNA matches are related to you. And while we already know that we're using the total number of centimorgans that we share with DNA matches, one of the things that Ancestry is utilizing is also the number of segments. And using segments like this for relationship prediction is not anything new. The tool SegCM on the DNA Sci website by Britt Nicholson has been doing this for years, where it utilizes the amount of shared centimorgans as well as the number of segments to help figure out which side of your family this is likely coming from and what type of relationship distance it is. And a big part of that was them realizing that the recombination rates in men and women are different, and so the recombination of the DNA you get from your mom is different than the recombination of the DNA you get from your dad, so the number of segments you'll match with the maternal relatives is different than what you'll match on the paternal relative side. And I don't know if they're using exactly the same studies for this as what Britt is using for his SegCM tool, but I am curious if they'll update the white paper soon enough. For those that don't know, the white paper is what tells you about the science behind this. And while they talk about some of that in this blog post, they don't go into the nitty-gritty. and what, science they're using behind it, what papers they might be using, and what's the real details. The other thing they're using is also the age difference between matches. And I actually thought they were already using this before, but I guess maybe they weren't, or maybe not quite as intensely as I thought they were. But this is something that has been utilized by genetic genealogists for a long time. You look at two DNA matches and, it might be an uncle, or it might be a half sibling, or it might be a niece or nephew, I guess, or whatever. Then basically, when you see their age, you can kind of get an idea. If they're a lot older than you, okay, maybe it makes more sense of it being an uncle or something. If they're the same age, maybe it makes more sense of a half sibling. If they're a lot younger, maybe it makes more sense as a half, or not a half, but a niece, nephew, or whatever. And then the other thing they're utilizing is one of their newest tools they've made available for the genealogy community, at least if you pay for a Pro Tools membership, and that's shared matches. They look at your matches to see how they're matching your other shared matches, and then using that information to help figure out what the relationship is. So if you have a first cousin that is a DNA match, but their parent, your uncle, has already done a DNA test, they can look at how each of them are matching each other, and they know, oh, well, they're parent and child, and if they're parent and child and they're both matching this person at these distances, then they must also be this distance to this person. And then the fourth method that they use for this is what they call generational distance. And I'm not 100% sure what they're indicating here to be the generational distance. They're estimating generational steps between you, your matches, and your shared matches, and then utilizing that to try to figure out the relationship prediction. And I'm not sure if this is something kind of more of a behind the scenes using the DNA only, or if this is something where they're maybe utilizing the family trees as well. So generational distance, basically looking at, well, this one person, it's, their parents were 20 years old when they had them, and their grandparents were 20 when they had their parents, and so on. And so, you go 80 years back, and you're back, 4 or 5 generations or something. Whereas another family tree, their parents, they had them in their, late 30s, and then their parents had them in the late 30s, basically meaning it takes less generations to get further back in time. Now, they don't go into any depth about what they actually mean by this generational distance exactly, so I can really only speculate. But once they update the white paper, which I'm hoping they will, then we'll hopefully get a better idea of what that actually means and what that entails behind the scenes, especially as to whether or not it's more of just utilizing the DNA and DNA techniques, or if it's really utilizing what the user themselves and their DNA matches supply in the trees. So almost something kind of like through lines in a sense, where you're using your family tree that you've connected the DNA to, and then the DNA matches that are also connected to a tree, and then trying to figure out how you might be related just through those trees. So the update to this is really going to just be when you look at the DNA match list and it shows you that relationship prediction of your DNA matches. And when you look at it, it will now say a much more succinct version than what it used to. So it used to say, half sibling or uncle or nephew or something like, it might list multiple of them. Whereas now it's going to figure out, based on all these details, we're very confident that this is actually going to be your uncle. So instead of saying all these other things, we're just going to say uncle. And I'm curious how well they're going to be able to do that, because I know that it is a big issue for a lot of people that don't deal with DNA tests much, where they look at their matches and uncle is being listed as a half sibling, and it's like, wait, what? My uncle is really my half sibling? And they don't realize that, actually that's because they share a lot of the same amounts of DNA that relationship would share. But now with the new update, is that something we're still going to have to worry about, or is that something that is going to now be a rarity? If it's within M4 or closer, how well are they going to be able to define that versus before? Because before, it was like, if you had a full sibling or if you had a parent-child match, pretty straightforward that it's going to be one of those. But if you have one of these M3 or M4 relationships, then it's your first cousin, but why does it say, great aunt, great uncle or something like that? So this should really hopefully be a big help for people that have some of these closer matches where they really aren't sure how they're related. And this is probably going to be a lot of people that have NPEs in their family or unknown parentage or just things where there's a lot missing in the family tree, especially in a close relationship distance. But I am very curious if they're going to be able to utilize a lot of these same techniques and take that into the further relationship grouping, so maybe M5 or maybe even M6. But let me know what you think of this update. I'm curious to see what people are saying. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to see one of their other recent updates, be sure to check out this video of mine right here. Thank you to my Patreon patrons and YouTube members.